thank you for the introduction. And we're Ocean Floor Music, and instead of talking about our business right here, right now, we thought we'd hear from the people who are part of the NFTs, from artists themselves. Once upon a time, an artist. I played in bands for 7 years, so I love music. So did my co-founder, Sam. Probably, how many years did you play in bands for, Sam? Still?
About 35 years.
35, okay, a few more on me then. But currently performing artists, we've got obviously Keeley, who works for Ocean Floor Music, and does anyone know Cav from Eskimo Joe? Round of applause for Cav. Here we go, ladies and gentlemen. I thought I'd kick off by asking, first of all, Keeley, over the last 12 to 14 months, has been working with artists that know nothing about Web3, nothing about NFTs, and have been holding their hand, I guess you'd probably say, Keels, and walking them through the road bumps, the struggles, the wins. Maybe talk to us, if you can share with the audience, what has that transition been like over the last 12 months for you and for them?
Yeah, so in the beginning it was a lot more challenging. I think this time last year there was a lot more skepticism in the space, and artists are kind of used to labels reaching out, kind of promising them the world, and things not really working out. So us approaching them kind of being like, we have a solution and we're going to fix the music industry or help the music industry. There was just a lot of, not sure about that. And I think, when was Big Sound? In September this year? That was when I felt a big shift. There was a few NFT panels and stuff going on there, and a lot of emails that I had sent out probably 6 months prior started to get replied to. And it was nice because we really just want to help artists, and that's something that we offer at Ocean Floor, is that full service experience. So we help teach them about NFTs, set up their wallet, teach them about Web3 in the space, and Taoism, everything they kind of need to know about the whole space. And then we start talking about their projects and how we can apply that into Web3. So it's been really fun, and I feel really privileged actually to just get to talk to artists all day about their art and turn it into an NFT with them. And it was really rewarding seeing it last night at Oshia, everyone was there, see a few familiar faces. Seeing it all like this at Oshia Gallery was pretty cool, pretty rewarding.
It's like a FOMO that sort of kicked in with the artists, that change in mindset fear, right? It was probably 6 to 8 months of talking to artists and explaining to them and almost saying you need to come and explore this thing. Now you're trying to have to fend them away because they're like, oh, Keeley, I want to chat to you, I want to hear about this opportunity. That's been a nice change for you?
Yeah, definitely. I think I kind of hit a point where I stopped trying to convince people about Web3 and just started working with the people that were already interested in the space, because it was quite draining and challenging every day. Feeling like you were like selling something, and I didn't want to be in sales, I just wanted to help people. So it was kind of nice to feel that shift come around, and then just working with people who are excited and not being really skeptical constantly. People are always going to have their theories because it is still a new space for music, but it feels good.
Thanks, Keeley. Cav, congratulations on the release of your new album. I'd love to hear a little bit more about the album itself, and then your extension of, I guess, 2D into 3D, and what, NFTs, why NFTs for you is really what the audience wants to hear about, I guess.
Yes, so I'm not Eskimo Joe, I'm just Cav Temperley, one of the people from Eskimo Joe, but I also write the songs for Eskimo Joe. I have a solo career outside of being the dude in Eskimo Joe. And I've just released a record called Machines of Love and Grace, and at the very, kind of somewhere through the process of writing that record, I got tapped on the shoulder by the Ocean Floor Music people and asked if I wanted to become a feature artist for this DAO that they were launching, which was going to support musicians in creating a new income stream, which I thought was great. But I wasn't sure whether I was getting into a multi-level marketing scheme or not. So luckily my wife is very intelligent and went and did a blockchain university course. So by the end of that, we had our heads around what we were getting ourselves into and the potential of where we were actually heading with Web3 and music NFTs. So while I was writing the record, I started to write this, I guess, they were kind of like B-sides almost, but it was this kind of peripheral bunch of songs that would accompany the album. So I wrote this concept, which I'm going to continue to follow through with all my NFTs, which is called Love in the Key of A, B, C, D, E, F, G. And it's one song that I've written and then rewritten in the 7 different keys. So as I was writing the record, I was writing this alongside it. And then I worked with the guy who I was doing my artwork for the record with and an animator. And we ended up with these 7 different NFTs, which present like a bunch of playing cards. Because when I think about digital collectibles and bringing my fan base from, you know, the world of Eskimo Joe into the Web3 world, I think, you know, what do they want to get out of this? And my thought was, well, it's got to be this digital collectible, but it has to be beautiful. It has to be something that they actually want to collect. They're not coming in thinking, I'm going to invest in NFTs and then I'm going to sell this over here. And, you know, they're not doing that. They just want to consume everything that an artist does. So I created these playing cards, almost like, you know, baseball cards, I guess, was the first thing I thought of. But the most interesting thing about the whole process, once I'd created this, my set of NFTs, was I realised we were actually inventing this brand new way to put music out, and not to put music out, but a brand new version of what music could be. I heard a really interesting talk before by Cooper Trooper, and he was talking about, you know, because he's very far down the road with the whole musical NFT thing, and he was talking about this idea that, you know, fans are going to go out, they're going to buy their favourite song, and then, you know, they're investing in that artist. I don't think it's that simple. I think there's all these legacy, contracts and arrangements and relationships that people have, i.e. record labels and publishing deals. I have a publishing deal, I don't have a record label. And so, you know, if you're talking about investing in something and buying something, you know, people who already have contracts to do that, then, you know, the record labels are not going to let their artists do that. But if we create something brand new, which isn't the song from the record, and the way that it came into my mind was that, imagine if you had, you know, your merchandise, and then you've got your B-sides, which are all the songs that don't make it on the record, and then your artwork, and those guys all kind of meet in the middle to this one thing, which is the digital collectible. That, in my mind, should be the musical NFT. So what I've created is, all the songs are about a minute long. They're almost like the bridging tracks that you would get on a record, but they have this linear line to the album that I put out, so it feels like there's a context around them as well. In my mind, I feel like I've still created art. I haven't just kind of gone, well, here's a demo and here's a picture and that's my musical NFT. Or I haven't just gone, here's a track from the record and put it out. I've really tried hard to create something brand new, and that's really exciting that, you know, there's this whole, like, we all got to this point in music where, like, it's all been done, you know, like, there's nothing new to do. This feels brand new. This feels like an exciting, brand new invention, and yeah, that's what excites me about it.
Thanks, Kev. I was just going to ask, and I'll go to Sam in a second for a question, but we talk about the positivity around NFTs and growing new audiences. We also hear that with established artists that there's some backlash around what are you going down that path for. So we understand that's a reality and it's going to be an education piece. What are you doing to grow new audiences in Web3?
I guess I'm just putting both my feet into the space, and I feel like this, you know, we're at the beginning of a journey for bands coming into and musicians coming into the NFT space. But I'm putting both my feet in, and I'm being confident about it, and I'm trying to put out there that this could be another revenue stream for artists. Yes, you've got your record sales. Yes, you've got your merchandise and you've got your live shows, but then you could also have your NFT sales. And the way that the world seems to work now is you don't go out and do these massive tours and then drive home in a Lear jet or anything like that. You get all these little income streams and they go into the pot, and then you pay yourself a wage out of that. And I feel like my vision would be that every artist releases an NFT, and then that becomes part of their income stream. And I guess by putting myself out there confidently and going, I'm putting my foot into this space, I hope that inspires other artists to do the same thing. And then if they do it, their fans are going to follow them. And music fandom, or people who love bands, should go hand in hand with people who love NFTs. Like, the worlds are so similar. So I feel like it can really be integrated very well.
Thank you.
I think there's a lot to say about the community that we're developing. I mean, at Ocean Floor, our vision is to build the biggest community of musicians and their fans. So it's a big statement, but at the end of the day, you know, we talk a lot about technology and where it's going, and amazing tech, Motor Crew, the work that you guys are doing. We've just released our marketplace, hey, and had a couple of bugs, but it's working. It's working, and we've made sales on our first night. It was a great launch last night. But at the end of the day, we can talk about tech forever. It's really not about tech. Well, it is, and tech's hard to build, but it's really about community and building community. And I think that's something that we're all starting to recognise, how cool the Web3 community is and how supportive it is. And I think, I think through times that we're going through at the moment, kind of difficult for a lot of people, this is a time when we all come together and really support each other, and we should continue to do that. So ultimately, it's about building a great community to support each other.
Keeley, over to you. Here we go. So, out of all the great things you said before, what have been the real challenges in this space of onboarding artists into Web2? We know that Web3 musicians exist in the world, and we hear them in Twitter spaces every day. It's some amazing people globally who've already created NFTs and had successful drops and secondary sales. What are the real challenges that have sort of hit you in the last 12 months, and an opportunity for us to improve collectively to bring more artists on board?
You mean apart from the 15-hour days that she's been working for us, mate?
Yeah,
apart from that?
Yeah.
Okay.
I haven't felt, besides the last push we've had in the last week, but I haven't really felt too many challenges lately. I think that it's definitely shifted in the music industry for artists, and that this time last year we were reaching out and sending 100 emails and maybe getting 2 back from our networks, and now we've got a whole list that we need to attend to when we go back next week. So the challenges is really just keeping up with it now, which is cool. But it's really been positive for me up until this point in the last 6 months.
Fantastic. Caleb, a question for you. You're obviously a pace setter, early adopter in Australian music in Web3. Congratulations on being brave to keep stepping up and delivery. Great successful drop last night, and everyone check out Cav's NFTs if you haven't seen them. You probably know some cool people, right?
Maybe.
Yeah. So in your in your touring and catching up with established artists with household names, what's their perspective on this space? Because you're probably 10 steps ahead of them. What's their response, and what's your strategy to help influence them, not convince them, but to influence them in the right way?
Well, I think from everyone from my peers, like other bands and artists, to people I work with in APRA, I'm an APRA ambassador. They're a collection agency. To my publishers, all these people, I invite into this world all the time, but they're all kind of sitting on the peripherals watching what I do to see how it goes. And that's why, back to what you were saying before about, how you're encouraging people to get into this space. It's usually by doing it. And I think, for instance, APRA is an interesting one because they're a collection agency which is ripe for putting on the blockchain, but when I talked to Dean, who's the CEO of APRA, I was like, I'm doing this thing, you guys should come and check it out. I think it's a really important thing that all artists will be getting into in the future. He was like, look, let me know how you go with it. I would love to sit down and have a conversation about it. I think everyone wants to be presented with a solution. Like, they're all kind of scared to get in there and, I don't know if get your hands dirty is the right word, but they all just want to see how it goes and then have someone come to them and say, this is the solution, this is the case study and how you do it. But for me personally, talking to my friends about it, I'm always like, you guys should do this. This could be a legitimate way that we make money. But I think what I'm most passionate about with the NFT and the music NFT space is that if we had have got involved as artists when Napster first came up and said, cool, we're going to stake a claim in this, as opposed to Metallica trying to sue them for millions of dollars. Imagine if they had have just bought it and then gone, hey artists, we've now got this new way we can distribute our music and we're going to make sure everyone gets paid. That would have been wicked. I feel like we're at the beginning of a renaissance, and if we can, as artists, can get involved in that before the gatekeepers step in once again, then we could, like someone they were saying just before, it was like we could be looking at a golden era of people making music. And I don't think musical NFTs are going to replace traditional, what we call the vanity matrix. I don't think it's going to replace that. I think that's still going to exist. Again, I think music NFTs should be an extension of what we already do. One of the problems, like in Eskimo Joe, we've always been really enthusiastic about embracing every new technology moment that comes along. And Patreon, when it first popped up, we were like, cool. We got out of our record deal because we could see the shit was slowly sinking. And we did this huge Patreon campaign to make our next record. It was successful. We got the money. But essentially what you're doing with something like Patreon and that crowdfunding model is you are giving away the album before you've actually written it, which is similar to a lot of what people are talking about with the music NFT thing. The problem with that is that your album doesn't chart, and it's seen by the general public as a failure. And, people love to get excited about music and, oh my God, have you heard this new song? It's so exciting. People need to get excited about stuff, and to do that, they need to see it on charts and they need to hear it on the radio, and all those traditional things are still really, really important. I think back to your question, as far as getting musicians involved, where they're going to get excited is if they see that this is this thing that still exists here, and then this is digital merchandise that you're basically creating, and you can own a part of that, and that is going to make you money and help you do all these other things, because marketing is the biggest part of making a record. Making a record, people can do that in their bedrooms, or you can pay a good studio to make a record, but really, most of the money you spend is on Google spends and Facebook, spends, and all of these things cost so much freaking money, and that's what traditional record companies basically do. No one's ever made money off really selling records, but what they do get out of it is they sell records, and that money goes into a marketing budget, and they have these $1 million marketing spends. That's why we all know about bands like Guns N' Roses, because they had so much money spent on marketing. Not because the record was great, it's because we knew about it. And that's the only thing that people get cynical about in the music world, is that there is going to be that whole idea of, you can have a direct connection with your fan. A lot of artists don't want to do that. They want a middleman. They want this mystery. They need a bit of distance between them and their fans. So doing the traditional route should still be a thing. NFTs should be a way that we pay for that.
I think there's a bit to say in the sort of the value exchange and what that looks like these days. Like, 1 million streams on Spotify, what's that, the top 10%, and and it's like the top 1% of those actually make a living from those streams. That's big numbers. But when we're measuring success with an NFT drop, what are we talking? We're talking 10 NFTs, that's probably going to make you more money than you're going to make off 10 million streams, depending on the price. So I think for artists, as an artist myself, that was a big thing for me to sort of really get my head around. We're not talking about millions anymore, we're talking about tens. We're talking about sort of that super music lover model. It's a better way to say it, right? No, not super fan, super music lover model of 50 to 100 is about the number that you need to actually start making a kind of a living out of this space. So it's about that sort of calculating those numbers from the millions down to the tens and 50s and hundreds, which is a big jump for many musicians in the traditional industry.
Let's not forget too, Cav, the Gunners did have an appetite for destruction as well, right? Let's not forget.
Welcome to the jungle. You're gonna die.
There we go, there it is. Keeley, this one's for you. Utilities. So he produces amazing art, right? It's very precious and beautiful and creates beautiful output of art, and that is the utility, right? That sells. You're helping emerging artists that are just coming into this space for the first time, and to help them build their profile. It's still quality songs that are being put out, but you're helping them package up their songs with extra utility. Could you maybe share with the audience some of those utilities that have excited you?
Yeah, definitely. I guess one of the first things that I noticed was there was 3 sort of types of music NFTs. The first one is like how, so you're creating a project purely for Web3. The second one would be using your NFTs to share demos or stuff that you wouldn't normally put out on the platform. So kind of using existing things that have already been shared or released. And then the other one was doing like a bit of a premiere through NFT. So we had artists doing all 3 of those things on our marketplace last night. So with the premiere, you essentially hear that song first, and then it may or may not come out later on, in a traditional way. So a lot of people also attached a lot of unlockable content, whether that was links to draft cuts of the video or demos. For my NFT personally, and a couple other people did this as well, we created little stories behind the track and how they were written or what they were written about and what inspired them. A little bit of an insight into the process, I guess. So, but then we have people like Project Beck. She's one of our coming soon artists, and she's really keen to connect NFTs with the real world. So she wants to create kind of scavenger hunts around the city where you have to go and scan the QR codes and get those NFTs that way. So gamifying it and remembering kind of where this NFT concept sort of started and using that energy in music NFTs, we find is really fun and really helps sales and helps marketing and all that type of thing. So I guess there's no limit really of what you can do, and that's the fun part, is being creative with the artists and finding out as well what else they like to do, because we had people that like Mike Slade, he's got like a degree in psychology, so he wanted to do little breakdowns of the psychology behind the lyrics and stuff like that. So integrating other passions into their music and things that you can't really multi-layer in a traditional way.
I think I bought a painting lesson.
Yeah.
With one of mine. So,
yeah, so collectible incentives too. So if someone's released more than one NFT in a collection, whether that's an EP or an album, Mick Finn, he had episodes of painting lessons. So if you bought the whole collection, you got that, but you also got a one-on-one painting lesson with him if you collected the whole thing. So yeah, I guess that collectible incentive, including that gamified thing, artists are loving that, yeah.
So yesterday I was flying over from Perth and I realised I didn't know what my great-great-grandparents used to listen to as music. And I know that my great-great-grandchildren will be able to track what I bought from the blockchain. It's a good vision to have if you think about it like that. But not only knowing what I listen to, I might be able to pass those assets down to them, whether they've got financial value or whether it's just cool art or an experience that they can have. I think that's a beautiful thing to be able to pass on. But most importantly, that to recognise that this was the point in time that we helped the creator economy. We helped artists earn more to create. And that's just a beautiful sentiment when you think about when you're buying NFTs right now, you're building a collection, but you're helping our collective artists, as are the Motor DAO guys, collectively in Australia. We're here to help change the world for artists for the betterment. And yeah, we're so grateful to be part of the process with you. Please support artists if you see music art on sale either here or on any of the platforms around.
I think you'll also be collecting the OG music NFTs, and in another 5 years I think that'll be worth something.
I'm just picturing your house in about 50 years, Cav, when you're just finally kicking back, singing the future songs on your rocking chair with all the decked out NFTs around. Beth's having a red wine, quite excited about her blockchain experience. We're really grateful for both of your time here today. Can we maybe throw it to the audience? I'm sure there's some questions,
Sure.
if we can pass it out, if that's okay. We've got a couple more minutes.
Yes, any questions?
Yeah, so in terms of NFTs, a lot of people look at NFTs like an investment platform. So you have on one side a lot of people looking for financial gain, and then your side is more on the supporting and maybe the one-on-one artist and bridging. What are you guys thinking of bridging that gap in some way and advertise to the traditional investor as well as someone that's just interested in supporting content?
I might just answer that in a legal framework just for a minute. At the moment, the law is kind of grey in the area, but if you're kind of leaning towards the investing in an artist, that's kind of may get a few of these NFT marketplaces in trouble. So we're staying away from that type of wording, basically. So it's about supporting the artists. It's not about really, making money off that thing that you just bought from the artists. So front-facing, that's what we're saying. But I think everybody knows the reality of what's going on out there. And at the end of the day, for me, I'm a holder, I'm a hodler, and I'll just hold forever. Other people might want to trade, so it's up to them, really.
I hope people buy my NFTs and then in a couple of years be like, this is worth millions, and then it sells again. Because that idea that you can resell a musical NFT over and over again and the artist keeps making a 10%, I think is a really attractive thing for artists.
Yeah, I just hope great art gets produced, and that we help. I think during the pandemic, we've seen, you know, the mental impact and well-being on artists, you know, globally and particularly in Australia. And artists, you know, prior to that were working 3, 4, 5 jobs just trying to create art, and we've seen them as COVID come in saying, I'm not making art, I'm not producing anymore, I'm not making music anymore because I can't afford it. And that's just the thing that we want to fix, right? So we want to allow them, if we can help more artists create more, I think collectively as a society we've done the thing that we're meant to do. So cool art will always prevail, make sure we keep rocking out and motivating. Like Kev mentioned something last night about, you know, I guess in the schooling system, the education system around the focus around sport, and if we could just get everyone to socially play an instrument together as kids and connect and get off their bloody devices for a little while and, you know, play an instrument and connect, that's a beautiful thing, right? So there's more society benefits through focusing on and supporting the creator economy and where that's going.
We have tried to move a bit of our messaging to fans as well to help them understand that ownership over NFT and that bragging right sort of. But we're just kind of getting there, especially in the music space. A lot of people kind of like, why would I buy an NFT when I can listen to it for free? And that's why we've lent a lot into utility, so they're feeling that value straight away, even if they're still, you know, wrapping their heads around things.
Yeah, I think in a perfect world we lift up music again as a commodity. You know, as it dropped so low since streaming that it needs to be lifted back up there again, and people should go, well, look at this magic that these people have created.
Thanks very much for the presentation. How important is the visual side? Because if I think about when I used to buy CDs, and there was some great artwork in there. I remember one of Tool's CDs that you could actually move, and it had like a hologram on the front.
10,000 Days?
Yeah, Anima, I think. Anima, yeah. So, like, how important is it that you get the visual side right?
Yeah, we've had quite a few different visuals. We did have some moving visuals for a couple of the projects. Some people like Dragan, he did the same song with 20 different AI photos that about the song, essentially. So lots of people are using just their artwork, like their album artwork, which already has the concept tied into it. But people are definitely starting to get designers. We had, I don't know if anyone's heard of Bot Boy, The Adventures of Bot Boy, but he collaborated with one of our artists, Mr. Thick, and it's really, really cool. So he's keen to do more work with artists as well, and yeah, people are definitely starting to think about it. You know, they might not have had, lots of people just wanted to dip their toes in, they weren't really sure what they were doing, it was their first drops, they were using existing things. But I think a lot of them are already starting to think, okay, now I want to actually create something similar to what Cav's done. Like, I want to design something really unique just for the space.
I think guiding our artist has been really important in setting it up. So, you know, your strategy, your look, your feel, your pricing structure, that's something that we do very, very well. Cracking that code was really difficult. Like, as Keeley was saying, it's taken us a year for artists to go, I get it, you know, and that's getting easier. So that kind of personalised service, it's taxing, it takes a lot of staff, it's expensive, but it's something that we're totally committed to and will continue to do. So, and that's really helping with the quality of these images that are coming with the excellent music that's out there as well.
Yeah, a big shout out to the Oshi Gallery crew who've set up this room today. And if you look around at some of the amazing NFTs that are here, a lot of them are animating. Everyone's going to have a smart TV, you know, in their home, and possibly multiple screens around their home in the very near future. So my thought would be that you have these NFTs that you own, kind of there animating in the background, doing their thing, and you know, I think it's cooler if they animate personally.
So last question. We've got one more question here, then we'll need to wrap up. Yep.
Three-part question. Firstly, for your, I'll try to be succinct, but for your marketplace, what protocol are you on? And part two is, have you got creator royalties in your own smart contracts? And the third part is, where's the industry going with interoperability for royalties? Because that's something I think there's a lot of discussion around. If you sell on different venues and carrying through royalties across venues,
So we built on Ethereum. We looked at, you know, all of them from Polygon to Cardano to Solana. In the end, we just decided to stay with the one that's been around for the longest and kind of like the most stable. We believe the future's pretty bright in that space, but There's lots of fantastic layer 2 solutions that are popping up out there, and we're looking at a few of them right now, and we will be sort of deploying across that. Cross-chain is something that's happening. I think it was Sean, you were talking about it. It's real, it's happening. I think we are not far from a future where it doesn't really matter what blockchain you're on. Getting across blockchains is going to be kind of normal and easy to do, or easier to do. What were the other questions?
So the industry consensus around
royalties.
It's a big discussion on
it's interesting to read and hear people's perspectives on that. For us, we're committed to it, 10%, or anywhere from 0 to 10%. It's up to the artist. And some are 10, some are 5, some are 3. It's up to them basically how they run it. The things that we have started seeing with the royalty collection is the tax responsibilities that no one's talking about. And that's probably the reason why many of these ecosystems are starting to stop the royalty thing, because there's things like GST or VAT or whatever that service tax is in that region, and there's invoicing responsibilities. But we've got an excellent legal team that's been helping us work through all that process. We're committed to it. That's us.
That's great. Yeah.
So just before we finish up, guys, I want to just announce the next session that's about to come up.
Is it happening?
Matt Bray. Matt Bray is just setting up some technology. He's actually going to do a live performance between this theatre right here and with a DJ in London. He's been working on a strategy to create live performance from remote locations. If we just give him a few minutes to get that set up, this will be a world first if you want to stick around, if you want to text anyone to come and have a look in the room. It's going to be super cool. I want to wrap up by asking Cav this question. You've played on a lot of stages in your lifetime. Have you ever played on one that is covered in this white type fur?
No, but someone did give me a taxidermist cat on stage one time. We were playing and they were like, "Can you take my cat?" And I was like, "Okay." And it was like their actual taxidermist cat, and we put it on top of the speaker. So that's fur of a different description, but that was pretty strange.
For real?
For real.
Round of applause for our lovely artists. Thank you guys very much for the music.